So Stuart, we talk a lot about needing to optimize your sound system. And sometimes that's like a big optimization, like a full tune-up, going through all the gear and equipment. Sometimes it's just re-EQing the equipment or kind of getting it back to zero. But a question that we get a lot regarding system tune-ups is, how often do we need to do that? Like, I've had pastors call me 6 months to a year after we've installed a brand new sound system, and they're like, do we need a tune-up? Is it too early to be talking about that?
Well, I think a good thing to think about is preventative maintenance.
Oh, yeah.
So that's good. It kind of depends on what you guys do in a church. So some churches, they don't do much with their auditorium all week long, and they show up on Sunday and do a very similar service.
Right.
And so you're really doing the same things over and over and over again. And in that case, things aren't really changing. So things probably aren't getting screwed up or whatever. Now, when you're doing a lot of different things and you have a lot of changing of hands and a lot of volunteers,
or different
a lot of
service types. Sometimes one church will host multiple churches.
Yes. It's kind of like, you could have a clean room, but then as you're pulling stuff out and putting stuff back, it doesn't always go back the way it should. So at some point you need to come in and do a deep clean and put everything back. Yeah,
I think like church tech directors and worship pastors, you should be doing, I would almost call it maybe a monthly or a quarterly just cleanup. It's easy on Sundays to just throw stuff away and be like, all right, that cable's laying there, I'm just going to leave it. But sometimes just going through, wrapping some cables up, hanging them back up can be really important. The other thing, though, is if you are working with a consulting company like us, which we love to work with our churches on a regular basis, always let your consultant know when you're thinking about changing something really big. So I think of one church that we were working with, and to them it didn't seem like a big thing. They were just buying a new Pro Presenter computer. That sounds really basic. Like, we're just buying a new. It's going to be running the same Pro Presenter, the same configuration. We're even going to copy the file over. But it's a new computer. And the thing with computers is they're changing so quickly, they don't all operate the same. And so they swapped it out like on a Wednesday and called us in a panic because it wasn't working. And we weren't able to get a technician out for a few weeks because we were super busy. And they went a couple weeks without having any projectors, any screens.
Sure.
And they could have completely avoided that by just calling us ahead of time and saying, hey, we're going to buy a new Pro Presenter computer, and then could you guys come in and just commission it, make sure it's working correctly. So I say that with AV system tune-ups too. We have some churches that decide to buy their own new speakers. They don't want to pay us to come install new speakers. They want to do it themselves. And that's kind of a toss-up. If you don't know how to properly rig speakers and set them up, that could be dangerous. But let's say you do have a crew that can do all that safely. It's still a good idea to let us know, because those new speakers are going to have different drivers, different components. We're going to need to retune the system.
Yeah.
And so I think a tune-up in that sense can be thinking ahead to what you want to update. So the most important thing is just to plan ahead, communicate with those people who are most intimately, knowledgeable about your system, and do preventative maintenance rather than reactive maintenance.